Hey everybody, it's Alexis and I'm back with another exciting video. Some tips today about how to embody the state of the wish fulfilled and how to access your living in the end zone. If you feel like you're getting tripped up with a sense of lack, you're waiting for your manifestation to happen, and you would just like some extra pointers. So before I get started, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And please hit the bell icon in the box below and you get notified every time that we post new videos. So you guys, I have had a lot of clients recently who are doing intentions, they're doing the mental diet, they feel like nothing is happening, they're caught up in checking their 3D reality, and that they're in what I call is a state of never ending or perpetual or cyclical anxiety, worry, and fear. So remember that, or I will just say that it is a human component of being human and having your mind to have an innate fight or flight mechanism, which is for anxiety, worry, or fear. It comes from the time when we were fighting animals. We had reptilian instincts, and it's still part of our subconscious mind. The problem is that if you're consistently accessing feelings, right, of fight or flight, which show up as anxiety, worry, or fear, and you're manifesting consciously, you're enacting a state of being that you don't need to be enacting, number one, because nothing is really, really wrong. If you're in anxiety, worry, and fear about love and relationships and a specific person, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you and your past, probably childhood trauma, relationships that happened afterwards, and the beliefs and the assumptions that you hold about life and living. So I want to be really clear. It's not saying that fear is a bad thing, because we want you to be fearful of falling off of a tall building. You want to be fearful of something dangerous is happening in your reality. What we don't want to have you doing is accessing fear on a regular or a daily basis, which shows up again as anxiety, worry, that is about an SP, is about love and about relationships. Because number one, I hate to say it so bluntly, but if your subconscious is filled with the self concept that is adored, loved, and cherished, then we wouldn't be going to anxiety, worry, or fear. You would be able to also curtail it, pull it back, and get back on top of your thoughts, get back on top of your assumptions. Or you wouldn't access it so fluidly because you would have reiterated the self concept that is pursued in love, that is accepting and assuming and deciding on a daily basis that love comes to him or her, or that love is reciprocated by the person if you tend to be the one that likes to pursue, likes to go towards somebody, and likes to do things. Because, like I've said in lots of videos, yes, your thoughts create, and yes, everyone is you pushed out. But in most relationships, there is a polarity dynamic. There is a giver, there is a receiver. In a lot of traditional dating coaching, we hear that there is a masculine and a feminine, which actually, in my training and my opinion and in my knowledge base, is not true, because it has nothing to do with male or female. It has everything to do with being the person that is either the pursuer or the giver. Or I don't like the term chasing, because that implies something just a little bit negative. We want to be thinking that in a balanced relationship, you would have a giver, and generally maybe a person that's more extroverted in life. They go out into life, into the limelight, with go out into the world and make things happen, who is more of an extrovert. And that there is more of a receiver who is maybe more of an introvert or a little bit more introspective. They're just, again, this is not saying that there is male, female, masculine, feminine, because I don't believe that to be true. But in any event, if you're really honed in on who you are, you're understanding your relationship dynamic, then there isn't a need to be going into scarcity, going into lack, going into anxiety, worry, and fear. Okay. And I say the part about pursuing because 95% of my clients want to be pursued. And it's male or female, it doesn't really make a difference, but you want to be clear about what you're doing in your reality. What is the ideal dynamic in a relationship for you? And have you actually thought those things through? So, another thing to think about that I see a lot with people is that in the year right now that I'm filming this is 2022, right? So we have Instagram, we have Snapchat. Most things in our reality are very instantaneous. And then we're expecting relationships, love, getting into a relationship, getting married to happen instantaneously. Well, you guys, last time I checked, my 3D reality, none of it happens instantly. And I think there's a big benefit to that. So it's not like this is, he's not texting me. I met him yesterday. You can tell you're in anxiety, worry, or fear, or that you expect or anticipate things to happen instantly if you think these thoughts. Or if I see it in coaching sessions all the time. So if you're thinking thoughts of, oh my God, I met him yesterday. We went on a date last night. I saw him for the first time. I saw her for the first time. They're not calling me. They're not texting me. Where are they? Why haven't they followed up? Why aren't they making a second date now? Right? Because you're in lack. Number one, you're in lack of the relationship. You're not living in the end of being adored, of being pursued, of being chased. You're living in the end of something is wrong. You've been rejected, anticipating abandonment and thinking that something bad is already happening. Well, most of the times, if you actually talk to the SP in these scenarios where we get very wound up or people get very wound up about it, nothing is actually happening that's wrong. It's our perception, or it tends to be the perception of the person that there is something negative, something going wrong. And if you actually ask the person, they'd say, oh no, I was busy working, or my phone died, or I had an emergency, or I thought that I would call him or her, text him or her in 3 to 5 days, because that's how I do things. Okay. So I'm only offering this and saying this today too, because I've had a lot of clients who are doing intentions, doing the mental diet, intending for communication, intending for a relationship, intending for text messages without getting to the root of the problem. And the root is the problem. The root of the problem is always you. With any situation, the root of the problem is always the person who's at the epicenter of the reality. Because just some reminders here, nobody can create the reality or the relationship of your dreams on your behalf. You have to do it for yourself. The only thinker in your reality truly is you, because we know, you guys, this bronchitis I have, it gets better. And then I start talking and it just does like a very funny itchy thing in my throat. So if I have a little bit of a cough today, that's what's going on. Okay. So what usually happens, are these dynamics, right? So we're doing all these intentions, we're doing the mental diet, we're intending. We're not getting to the deeper issue, which is us and our self-concept, and also living from the end, thinking thoughts from the end of the version of you that is pursued and desired, wanted, cherished, adorable, beautiful, handsome, and then living from the end of being in the relationship, or living from the end of communication, or living from the end of already being married. Now, it is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it, right? It is my opinion that if you're first dating someone, we want to be living in the end of constant communication, living in the end of consistent love, living in the end of affection, living in the end of that zone. And then we go for living in the end of living in the end of marriage, or living in the end of living together. I have found for myself that that's what I've always done. I have never lived from the end of something that was really, really far down the line, because I never knew that like I wanted to marry somebody until I had dated them for a while, or if I felt that there was a deep like soulmate connection, which I would hone out with someone right over a period of time. And there's a lot of controversy, I think, in terms of the manifestation communities about where do you live from the end from. I just think that keeps it simple. It is just my idea. It doesn't mean that things in your reality can't happen quickly, because once you start doing this, things do happen very quickly. But make it easier on yourself. Go for the route of least resistance, okay? And I also have a success story to share about how a client of mine began embodying the living in the end, and it really solved a lot of problems for her, because she didn't realize that a lot of the time, even though she was on top of her thoughts, even though she was on the right mental diet, she was still living in the energy of lack. Okay. So if that speaks to you, then let me also just read the success story. Okay. Dear Alexis, thank you so much. I am so happy to have found CYF and your videos and you as a coach. I implemented your suggestions, and after just our very first session, I manifested contact from my SP. Yet, as we talked about in our subsequent sessions, the work didn't stop there. You coached me and got me to see time and time again that there was still a sense of lack and an energy of lack within me. You also noticed that even though I thought I was on top of my mental diet, I actually wasn't most of the time. LOL. Now, fast forward to 3 months from our actual first coaching session, my SP asked me to be his girlfriend. I am over the moon about it as it happened so spontaneously. And it was only after embodying the version of me that is pursued and adored and loved, as you showed me how to do. This was also with my affirmations. I believe that's what really got me here. If I can do it, anybody can. Please feel free to share this with the channel. I want to be an inspiration for our community. Okay, so, like I already said, what she identified is that even though she was doing a bunch of affirmations and a bunch of intentions, she would get into those three big ones, you guys: anxiety, worry, or fear. And most of the time, funny thing is that the anxiety, worry, or fear were coming from a place of the past, were coming from childhood, were coming from lots of years of having negative things happen in her experience. And then she was recreating bad things happening, anticipating he wasn't going to call, anticipating that he would cancel plans, thinking he's going to be canceling plans, and then having to turn those thoughts around also. So, what I said to her is, okay, well, let's have you practice embodying the state of living in the end of being his girlfriend, because she had already manifested contact. She didn't go through a situation where she was blocked or something like that. Okay. And then I had her living in the end of the version of herself that was pursued, loved, adored, wanted, cherished, treasured, because that was the dynamic. She really wanted to receive this from her specific person, and she wanted to receive this consistently. So think about like your chosen relationship dynamic, whether you're more of the pursuer or you're more of the receiver, is how you see it going for the relationship. It's not just a, we're getting into this, this is what's happening. It's, this is how I feel good in my relationship for the duration. This is how I feel good in life and living. Okay. So in any event, she really realized this about herself. She said, wow, Alexis, it was only out of anxiety, worry, and fear that I would ever pursue him, ever chase him, because I don't even really feel comfortable doing that. And I said, okay, big surprise. A lot of my clients have said the same thing. So what I had her do was throughout the day practice identifying where her state of being, which is just her energy, where she was at throughout the day. And so she began to realize that where she was at throughout the day, her state of being, right? Because remember, you guys, it has nothing to do with the people out there. It's just you. So if it's just you, we need you to be in a feeling, in a state, in a place, accessing an inner knowing and saturating your inner knowing, your inner self, which is just your subconscious mind, with already being in the being of who you want to be. Okay. So what has happened also for a lot of my clients is when they're living in the end of being chased and pursued, they're actually living in the end of the version of themselves that is also wanted as a girlfriend, wanted as a boyfriend, right? When they're in that zone, it's kind of like the same thing because you got to do both, right? There's you and there's the SP and there's the relationship, but we have to have your self concept living in the end. So I said to her, okay, well, where do you think you are throughout the day? Do you identify inwardly as being single? Do you identify inwardly as having a difficult time in the relationship? Do you identify inwardly in your moments of time throughout the day or as a being that something is wrong, in the relationship or that you have to figure something out? She said yes. And I said, wow, shocker. Okay. So what I had her do was instead, we had her begin to act as if or pretend or to access a state of being that was already in the relationship. So it would look like this. She's going throughout her day. She does some work, maybe goes and has some lunch. She comes back to her desk and she takes note of herself. Or you can do this while you're doing things also. But she began to notice and she began to think and feel. How would she think? How would she feel if she had the label as a girlfriend? And if she had the label, like, what if a single thing was no longer a thing? What if she could see in her social media profiles that she was taken, that she was in a relationship? What would it feel like if she had just posted photos of them as a couple? What would it feel like if they had just been on a trip together and she was living in that zone? Okay. So she did that. But the main thing that she also did was start feeling and being the person and embodying the version of herself, saturating her thoughts, saturating her energy, saturating her imagination with embodying the version of herself that was pursued, that love came towards her, that love was easy, love was effortless. She was always in a zone of it working for her. She did those two things. Now, it only took her 3 months to go from getting contact to getting into the relationship. Because you will notice that if you can really get into a living in the end, that it will make things happen quicker. Also, because you're realizing this is just me. It has nothing to do with them. I'm just taking myself to where I need to be in order for it to be pushed out into my reality, to be shown into my 3D reality experience, and to bring in the experience into my point of view, or what Neville Goddard would say is my awareness. This is why Neville talked a lot about the feeling is the secret, living in the end, acting as if. Now, it was only her idea. I mean, I pushed her a little bit, but I said, okay, what would you be doing if you guys were a couple? How would you be acting? You wouldn't be going out on other dates. You wouldn't be, doing things that weren't part of the relationship, right? She said, oh, right, that's true. And I said, okay, so just start also when you're, going out and buying things, thinking, oh, what would I be buying for him? That was something she liked to do. So it all culminated together. And what she was really good about was not checking her 3D reality. She put a mute button, right, on the 3D reality, on the 3D experience. She went with him and recreated herself, recreated the relationship and him all at the same time. And then it came out in her 3D reality. So, you guys, if this is you and you're doing a bunch of intentions, you're on top of your thoughts, you're on the mental diet, but you still feel like you're in a state of lack, start getting in touch with a different state of being. Start taking yourself in your timeline, right? Because all we are is living in a time space continuum. There's the past, the present, the future. We're going into the future self and bringing that state here. Another thing that this client did is she did the Be a Queen hypnosis, as well as the Recreate Your SP hypnosis. All of the hypnosis audios I have are geared to get you into a state of living in the end, or a state of being a version of yourself and saturating your subconscious mind with it, and understanding how to do the state change with my guidance, which takes you into a relaxed state and then brings the information into your unconscious mind, if that's something that speaks to you. Okay. So that's my video for today, you guys. I hope that you have found it helpful. And please know that you can create anything, you can be anything, you can do anything that you desire. All we have to do is get you to think the right thoughts about it, be the person inwardly that already has it, that's already there. And then magically it will happen in your outer reality. It's as simple as that. Okay. So just a reminder too, that we're still having our contest. And every time that you comment on one of our photos about how law of attraction and or law of assumption has helped you change your life, then you get put into a pool of people to receive a free coaching session, which is so awesome. All right, you guys. So go out and make today awesome. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.